It's been another disappointing week for the high street guy. I don't
Yeah.
know whether you've seen that, our old stomping ground, the banks, Santander are closing 300 of their
Yeah,
branches,
they
their
are,
high
yeah.
street branches.
Yeah.
One of your old employers, Lloyd's, and one of my
Yeah.
old employers
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
closing another 90. I wouldn't have thought they'd have had 90 left to close, Lloyd's,
No.
after they've slashed away at their slash and burn
Yeah,
in
very
terms of
few now. Yeah,
their branch
90.
network.
Yeah.
And there's been a report out that's talked about how the high street is going to look in a few years' time in terms of changing from what they call a retail-centric model to a destination hub focused on leisure services and community. In that this is quite significant. Since 2019, there are 8,000 fewer retail outlets on the high street, and as we know, online shopping this last year, 2025, counted for 28% of sales, is taking a huge chunk out of retail shopping. And I know there was an effort, wasn't there, at this last budget that Rachel Reeves brought out to try and charge or make the out of town
Mm.
online retail warehouses pay a bit more to subsidise the high street, but I don't think from evidence that it's had much of an impact. I think
No.
they're closing places down, and I don't know about yourself, but I'm thinking about fairly recently, the day before yesterday, I needed to get a cable. I'm on Amazon Prime, other services are available. I needed to get a cable, and I was going to go out, but Amazon deliver the next day, and I couldn't find the same cable locally because obviously all these shops are closed down. I'm not going to drive half an hour to get to Trowbridge to go to Curry's and pay twice the amount for a cable that I can get online delivered the next day.
Well, I think it's people like you who are just ruining our high street. It's about time you took responsibility.
So, so in all seriousness, what do you think about the banks deserting the high street?
Well, let's start there. I mean, I also picked up that it's been reporting season, isn't it? And Lloyd's Group reported very good profits. So it's not that they're obviously taking these decisions from a commercial point of view, and they're not worried about the impact on customer growth and
No.
retention because, well, if you talk about doing shopping online, I think almost everyone, unless you're particularly elderly or whatever, is doing their banking online, and very few things you have to go in the bank for. But the new innovation, just as a sort of a halfway house, are these banking hubs that are popping up everywhere.
We've got one of those.
Yeah, same here. So I think it's changing in that respect. But I saw a very interesting article today about Weatherspoons, because it turns out that Weatherspoons, through all the various different taxes, corporation tax, VAT, alcohol duty, plus the tax that Mr. Tim, what's his face, pays. Martin, thank you. They're one of the biggest contributors to the exchequer, but they broke it down by pub.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
Goodness.
And business rates per pub on average is £50,000, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Well, you've got to sell at his prices. You've got to sell a lot of beer, haven't you?
Yeah.
To cover that, let alone the leasehold rent and all the other running costs. So I think it's terribly difficult. And then you get local councils. So we, as in my wife and I, we treated ourselves to a Costa coffee, which is quite a big decision financially these days. But what got us over the line, and if they're listening, their marketing team, is that Yvonne actually had a free cake because it was her birthday. So it worked. It got us. Anyway, I was talking to the manager of it's only a little town down the road where we live.
Yeah.
And I said, how's business then? Because he was quite a nice guy. And he said, dreadful. He said, local council, they've installed these parking meters in the car park. So you've got to now pay £1 for an hour and £2 for 2 hours. It doesn't sound very much.
No.
But those things alone, that thing alone, has knocked his trade by about half, in particular on a rainy day, because people on a sunny day will park a little bit further for free and walk in.
Oh, I see.
So decisions that councils take because they think it's a smart idea can absolutely hammer the high street. Micro example, but hey.
I suppose in the context of a cup of coffee, if you're paying £1 to park,
Yeah.
It's quite a huge chunk of that, it increases your. I mean, a cup of coffee now in one of these chains is best part of a fiver, isn't it? So you're paying
Yeah.
£6 on top. I know there's got these, you've got your free cake and what have you, so that drew you in. I know
Drew me in.
Yvonne likes a nice cake. You would get your penny on and bake something up, then you'd save a fortune.
Take
Just
it in with us.
Feed
like
her
in a,
cake.
in a
No,
plastic
feed her
box.
cake at home. You don't have to drive or anything then.
I'm going to try. And see what's going to happen. But
I agree with you. Yeah.
It's so you've got the fixed costs. I think there's two for me. There's two big drivers of it. There's the fixed costs, be it rent, business rates, the actual heat and light, and people who are running the place, which means you can't make any money. In fact, you might make a loss. And there's people like you who just do not go into the high street, and you're buying almost everything you could ever need from your desk.
Oh, no. You get me wrong. I didn't say I don't go into the high street.
No,
I do go. I regularly go into virtually every day. I'm out having a coffee at a cafe somewhere.
Oh, okay.
So I spend a lot in hospitality, in terms of visiting local coffee shops here.
But
a lot of money.
Not retail, not trade.
Not a lot in terms of retail.
Yeah.
Primarily because we haven't got, for example, with cables, electrical cables, we rarely haven't got, other than the supermarkets, we haven't got shops that sell those around here. And I was looking for this is a VHS to what's the other plug called now? The one they use on all the TVs. I've forgotten now. No, not USB. Anyway, from VHS from the old 150 socket plugs to another one, and it's a bit sophisticated for the local Tesco's. They
USB,
yeah. No, that's computer socket USB.
Okay.
This is the one between video and
and
DVD. Anyway,
does that sit along your gramophone? Does that?
It does have to wind it up before it's done. They don't sell it in the high street.
No.
Other than me driving miles to get to the local Currys, which I don't see the point of that when I can have it delivered the next day. But what I do think they ought to be doing, government, and they partially looked at it, is they need to encourage business back to the high street. And you only do that with incentives for business to come back to the high street and disincentives to sell online. And of course, the argument will always be then that people like Amazon are bringing loads of jobs into the country, and they're low end jobs, aren't they? They're not terribly well paid, I don't believe. But you have to balance these things, don't you? With banks, I just think they've got these hubs, but you'll remember from your time working at banks. I worked a place in Sussex for one of the major high street banks in quite a high end place called Hurstpere Point.
Yes, very posh.
You know,
nice college there, posh. Yeah.
And there were two of the major high street banks there, and they carried on and they carried on and they carried on. And the argument was always, and you'll remember, that they've got to provide a service there because exactly as you said, there's a lot of money there and they want the deposits. So they kept those branches open. Well, now they seem to have got to a position where I suppose money isn't necessarily in the hands of the elderly who demand, civil servants like yourself don't demand to have branches, but and the reason they're leaving the high street, I think, is because they've not got to compete with these online, the online Starling and the online banks, the people who don't have bricks and mortar or huge staffs to but they have to finance. Maybe the answer to a certain extent is that unless you have high street presence, then you don't get a license to practice. I mean, that's one way of looking at it, because it is killing our high streets, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the answer, because you've got to look at the positives of what they call the so-called fintech banks, of which there are a lot. And a lot of people now, millions of people, bank with these firms like Monzo, Starling, Shawbrook, to name but a few. So I don't think you can regulate in that way. But what you can do is soften the blow for businesses by looking at something the government does control or local government controls, such as business rates.
Yeah, I don't think that's a viable solution, because already local authorities are strapped for cash. They can't start cutting, because the only people who will gain from that is central government.
But
central government would gain from that because of their income tax take and because of their VAT take. But local authorities won't gain from that at all.
Could do. You could look at, it hasn't been done, has it? I'm just trying to think. No, it hasn't been done. You could look at a modest online purchase tax and recycle that back to local government so that they could recycle the benefits. I'm just looking at solutions.
No.
If we believe that that's the right thing to do strategically, or are you trying to be a bit like King Canute and swim against the tide? But you said at the beginning, I'm conscious of time now, but you said at the beginning that the vision was that the high street would become a destination for, what did you call it? Living spaces or something?
Leisure, services and community.
Yeah, I get community and I get leisure, but did they bring any more flavour to it? Are we talking coffee houses, gyms?
Well, there's not much meat on the bones, but you read between the lines, and I think that's exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about leisure activities in terms of coffee shops to a degree, although they're making that very difficult for them to function, aren't they? But also actual nurseries and libraries, maybe, all more community-based activities than retail itself, which in one way I can see. In another way, I think there's still a market there for, especially for clothing. I think people like to try on clothing and
buying clothes online is just a complete ball ache, to be honest.
Yeah. So we haven't really solved the problem, have we? But
oh no, we don't. No, we're not paid enough to do that, Sean. In fact, we're not paid anything.
No, not a penny. So we do this all for altruism. So I think the way things are going, it's just a slow, gentle decline of the high street, isn't it?
Yes.